rate and whatnot. Although this is also way... Oh, wait, now we're live.
Hey, sorry about that, everybody. By that, I mean you didn't see any of that. But we lost internet for a second.
Yeah.
Or something.
Something
disrupted our Skype call.
Yeah.
So without our Skype call, we can't see the game, so we can't comment on it. So
Right.
we missed what looks like maybe game one.
Apparently, yeah. I'm hoping that was game one. The thing says game 3.
But that's from
Yeah, so that was from last round, so don't worry about that. They drew?
Yeah, they drew.
Boring.
It was Desecration Demon was lethal.
Uh-huh.
And Kyle couldn't draw anything to do with the Python Needle in play or the Desecration Demon. So all he kept drawing was Gatekeepers to gain life and then feed him to the demon. Gain life, feed him to the demon until turns.
Well, you got
It's not the most noble victory I've ever seen, but it was a victory of sorts.
Yeah. So, so someone is up a game here.
Chris on your left.
Yes.
Dean on your right.
Yes.
Dean is playing some variant of Esper Aggro.
Yeah.
It's sweet.
It is. Yeah, this deck is really interesting.
I'm gonna go close the door real quick.
Okay. I believe this Esper Aggro deck came about from a group of Japanese players, or maybe just a single Japanese player who did well with it at a Grand Prix, if I remember correctly. And so this is going to be some sort of derivative of that.
Yeah.
He has the 1-drops you would expect in your typical white weenie deck, along with things like Levy Sky Knight.
Which is sweet.
Like,
I've always wanted that card to have a home. It's so sweet.
Yeah.
And I believe it plays Biden, right?
Yeah, that list does. I think Dean is also playing things like Blood Baron and Desecration Demon.
So it's basically just like these really heavy hitters from Standard.
Yeah.
Kind of stitched together with cards like filling in some gaps like Lee of Sky Knight where there's not like...
Yeah.
Yeah. Seems good.
Exactly.
We don't know what Chris is on, or I don't.
Mono Blue Devotion.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll get to see kind of the old guard take on the
new hotness.
Yeah, or a form of the new hotness.
Absolutely.
Speaking of hotness, Chris's playmat I'm a huge fan of.
It's pretty sweet.
Yes.
Let's talk for a minute about how, speaking of hotness, our operator, Joe, we don't get to see or hear tonight, has just been really killing it, keeping us up.
Yeah.
And keeping the stream going, despite the fact that our hardware wasn't necessarily cooperating, our internet wasn't necessarily cooperating.
Sound randomly didn't work and then randomly worked. Yeah.
All we're doing is sitting here talking about Magic, and Joe is just sweating.
Doing all the hard stuff.
Doing just
absolutely
stitching this together out of nothing but will.
Joe's been, frantically trying to get things to work, and it's usually just me just like standing there like, I don't know what to do.
So, our director, unsung.
I fixed Jack, man.
You checked a box at the beginning of this thing.
That was pure luck. That was the top deck of the century.
So, I'm Ryan Johnson.
Jacob Ross.
Dayton Magic Club presenting Friday Night Magic live here from Game Haven in Riverside, Ohio.
Yes.
We're really excited to be here, despite all of the trials and tribulations. It's been a good time.
This is kind of a new experience for us. We're working with new hardware, new software, and new internet. So
yeah, exactly. Everything's new, except for us. We've been doing this for a little while, pre-recorded stuff. We haven't been live, so this is a whole new thing for us. So we are going to see Mono Blue Devotion here. Your Master of Waves deck. Yeah. A bunch of cards and some Master of Waves.
Yep.
It's pretty good.
Random idiots, as some people would say.
Versus this Esper deck, what do you think?
I think... Okay, it's interesting. So this Mono Blue deck, I thought it was kind of going to be a flash in the pan. The way it was kind of set up, I thought it was really well positioned to take on a format that's not well defined.
It's certainly been one of the major go-tos since we've had a format. Performed very well at the first Pro Tour.
Yeah.
And never really hasn't undergone any major changes, and just been the big staple since then.
It has maybe changed 3 cards, 4 cards,
which is unusual.
Yeah.
You look at like Cawblade from several seasons ago, the big boogeyman started out as Caw Go, and then slowly adapted and changed, but we haven't seen that kind of evolution from Mono Blue yet. All right, we're off to a good start from Dean. He's got an aggressive 1-drop that meets a very aggressive 2-drop.
Yeah. Now, this is nice for Dean because he can attack through this.
Yes, absolutely. Weird, so. Frostwind Weird's one of its main purposes is to hold the line against these faster aggro decks until your more powerful cards like Master Waves and Nightfell Spectre can come online and kind of start sealing it up.
Yeah, it's not the best at beating down.
Yeah. So. Now, I think that Dean wants Desecration Demon to do a lot of heavy lifting here.
Yes.
It's a very powerful card. It's not particularly good against Master of Waves.
No, it's very poor. Yeah.
So that'll be an interesting matchup we'll get to kind of see here maybe.
Right.
And Chris says if I can't block, I might as well attack, which is, absolutely right.
Yep.
Gets in there for a couple points.
Leaving up 2 mana. And this is a sideboard A game, so Chris could be potentially holding up, Essence Scatter or whatever. Or any other syncopate,
Yeah.
That's a Zathrid Necromancer.
That is a sweet one.
Yes. Very good card. It kind of went away after rotation, but it's starting to see home again.
One of the things this deck has going for it is a lot of these Esper aggro creatures are humans. Lee of Sky Knight, that's been added in, is a human. Which gives you the ability to put, this really good clock on your control opponents or your slower opponents that they could literally cast Supreme Verdict and not change the clock at all.
Right.
Which is a pretty amazing position to be in as the aggro deck. Your big threat from your control opponent is these sweepers, and that's a Biden.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Usually.
But not necessarily going to slow the bleeding here. Right. It looks like Dean is just,
Yeah. I like that quite a bit.
Yep, that's right where you need to be. Because one way for Chris to get out of this game is to set up a situation where, Dean has a hard time setting up profitable blocks, and he just gets to draw a couple of cards over the course of the next couple of turns, using those Mutavaults, which we haven't seen scrap yet.
Right. And
turn on your real powerful late game.
Right.
Speaking of, we're talking about Devotion.
Yeah.
This is a pretty... Master Waves would be real scary here at this point.
Yeah, right now it would be very good. The Nightfell Spectre not going to do much against the Soldier, but just, having him back on D is going to help with the Devotion and stuff like that. So. Maybe they're figuring out how much damage Dean took. I think there was a pump and a Mutavault attack.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
I don't mark it if you don't announce the trigger, so sorry.
So, Dean taking 2 here. I'm wondering if this is Blood Baron. Ooh, Obsidian. Man, we've been seeing these Obsidian.
Remember when Obsidian was considered to be the premier threat in Standard? How do you beat this card? Then it kind of went away.
Yeah.
It's back.
It's rearing its ugly head here at Gamehaven.
Really, really good. It's going to be very difficult for Chris to beat it. One thing about Mono Blue, it doesn't interact particularly well. Doesn't get to play a lot of, once a creature is resolved, Mono Blue Devotion is planning on just brute forcing its way through it.
Yeah.
It really doesn't have a good way to get these cards off the table. And it's hard to brute force through an Obsidian. Although a Master of Waves at any point could do it.
Yeah, it makes this a lot easier.
Of course, Dean has access to black removal.
Yes.
Which is very, very good against Master of Waves.
Right.
Unlike, some of these red-based decks that are planning on lightning striking and that sort of thing. So we see a big swing here. Chris knows that the long game doesn't favor him. He's really got to get the damage in where he can.
Yeah.
And Dean, of course, knowing that he has a lot of blockers.
Right.
With the Zathrid Necromancer, providing 2 bodies for the price of 1.
And it looks like Chris stole a Desecration Demon with his Nightfell Spectre. It was kind of interesting Dean was willing to trade with his Necromancer with the Mutavault.
Yeah, you feel like it's perhaps the... well, that's pretty good.
Yeah, wow.
One thing I like about this deck, it's an aggressive deck that gets to use Detention Sphere aggressively against really popular standard cards.
So, Chris attempted to reference hybridization Dean's Obsidian. Dean had Gainsay.
Wow.
And that was game.
That was it.
That's it.
That's pretty amazing.
That was blisteringly fast.
That was fast, and you really got to see the power of opposite odd again.
Yeah, and when you ask me what I think about this matchup, it makes a lot of sense to me that Dean would be the advantage in this matchup.
He seems to have a lot of powerful tools.
On the curve, I think his creatures will be outclassing Chris's.
Yes.
So Dean is casting, he's like Soldier of the Pantheon on turn 1. Chris is casting Cloudfin Raptor and Judge's Familiar.
Right.
Which it can be kind of awkward sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I agree. We got to see this mono blue deck didn't draw Master Waves.
Right.
Got pushed around at a couple different points on the curve.
Yeah.
Soldier Pantheon matched up really well against the nominally defensive Frostburn Weirds.
Right.
And Chris couldn't stop the bleeding in time to keep Opposite Odd from ending the game. That Gainsay was pretty impressive, though.
Yeah, that was...
Having access to Gainsay and Attention Sphere, or potentially Doomblade, plus aggressive creatures seems really, really powerful.
Yeah, so since Dean's creature, so the trade-off that Dean is making for more powerful creatures on the curve is kind of a wonky mana base.
The mana base wasn't a problem that game, but I could certainly see how it would be.
Right.
I like the fact that you have Gainsay against the mono blue decks, and you have the Tension Sphere against the Pack Rat decks. Seems a really, really powerful cards to have access to right now.
Exactly.
We're going to play a fun game because we didn't get to see game 1.
Right, that makes sense.
So we'll get a bonus game here.
So Dean, the official winner of the match.
Absolutely. 2-0, a quick 2-0.
Yeah, very
and because of our technical problems, it really punished us for those because how the pace of these games.
The dangers of live television.
Absolutely. But when you have great commentators in the booth, we just make it all look effortless.
Exactly. We could talk about anything, probably.
That's probably true. So, I like Dean's deck. I like to see it. I like to see it.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I'm a huge fan of decks that curve out.
Yeah.
And his deck curves out turns 1 through 5, which you usually don't see.
Plus, it gets to, it has it's one of those decks that has 2 halves. Mm-hmm. There was that rule of thumb said never play the rock, right? It's like you got these 2, you have to draw the right half of your deck at the right time.
Yeah.
It's kind of the general criticism of mid-range decks.
Right.
But he's got these Scrylands and stuff that kind of stitch the 2 halves together.
Right.
Which I think is really interesting.
So should the Thassa be tapped? I don't think so. It's kind of interesting. That doesn't matter.
The Tension Sphere is really doing a lot of work.
Yeah, obviously the cleanest answer to indestructible gods.
And we've seen the Tension Sphere as a very powerful tool in these control decks since it was printed.
Yes.
I like it as a tool in these aggressive decks.
Yeah. It can kind of get rid of all of the roadblocks that you might run into playing.
Gets rid of things like Whip, which are hard to race.
Exactly.
These gods, especially Thassa, multiple Pack Rats. It just seems really, really well positioned right now.
Yes, I'm a huge fan. So taking 2 to land. That is a Desecration Demon.
On an empty board.
Yes.
Or facing an empty board.
It's terrifying.
It's very scary. The card is really, really... I'm really glad Desecration Demon became such a staple. That card is really good.
Yeah. Okay, so... we'll just Cyclonic Griffon.
The Detention Sphere?
Why is it...
In a graveyard? Yeah, I don't understand exactly what happened there. Joe, perhaps you could fill us in 6 characters or less.
Mistakes. 7 characters.
Rapid hybridization there.
Okay. So
Desecration Demon.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Rather have a 3/3 not flying than a 6/6 flying.
Yes.
Potentially larger.
I think it was bigger than that, yeah. So, Thassa's back. Tension Sphere is in the graveyard.
Right.
The Gentleman's Cyclonic Rift. Right. Again, not a sanctioned game.
Yeah, so we'll let it fly, but the Tension Sphere should be in Dean's hand.
What we got here? What we got, Dean?
I see a Soldier.
Yep.
I see Pants. Zarflesh. And Soldier of the Pantheon. So that that's kind of interesting. Rapidization and Tidebinder Mage. I never thought about that.
Oh yeah,
that's crazy.
That's cool. I like that. And Tidebinder Mage is certainly good for devotion.
Yeah, the double blue on curve.
So Dean got plenty of mana.
ready to deploy God knows what. Here
Oh,
comes
yeah.
and Chris is frustrated. You can see the anger consumed.
So, seriously? That guy? Awesome.
Yeah, cool.
You're really good at this game.
So, Chris needs Soaring Tinker.
Yep, that'd be really good right now.
Or, well, no.
For Duplicant.
I'm trying to think. Upheaval would be...
Upheaval would be pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah. You could play it, too. That's crazy. No, you couldn't. No, you can't. Not even Upheaval will save him.
He has Nykthos.
I don't know, but he can make 5.
5, you're right. Huh. Washout.
Well, that's only one color.
4 mana?
Right?
Yeah.
And the Obsidian's still around.
We got nothing.
This is
It's a dark place.
opposition, no? Alright, there's that's the Bidens. But this is looking rough. What Chris needs is to like overload Cyclonic Rift.
So that'd be good, yeah.
And then hope Dean forgets to take his main phases. And then I think he can win. And then
Alright,
there you go.
Dean showing that this deck might be very well positioned against a small sample size, but it looks like it has the tools.
To beat mono blue, yeah.
Blue.
And if you're, my theory always has been, if you're going
Chris is animatedly explaining.
Right. So, so one of the reasons to me, if you're going to play a rogue deck, what the kids nowadays call a brew, you need a really good reason to
Absolutely,
do that.
that's true.
The decks that are established for a reason.
Yes, they have a lot of hours of testing by a lot of different people behind them in this era of Moto that we live in.
So if you're going to go against the grain, like Dean has, you need a good reason to do that.
Yes.
Being able to beat mono blue consistently is one of the top things to look for.
I agree, 100%. And I think that its matchup against the mono black decks might be reasonable as well. The tension tier seems really well positioned. You have big guys, you have flyers. Like there's some powerful tools there.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on Dean for the rest of the tournament tonight.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how the rest of this match is.
And of course, with 5 rounds to play, Chris is not exactly down and out yet either.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, Chris is obviously playing a really good deck.
Yes.
So yeah, I wouldn't. If you're a Chris Mudry fan, and everyone should be.
Everyone should be.
Don't let your hopes, dwindle.
All right. Well, thanks for bearing with us for that round.
Yeah.
Which got off a little bit of a rocky start, but I think it was pretty good. We've seen some really good matches.
Yeah, really swingy matches and decks that we haven't seen in a while.
Absolutely. So, pretty exciting night here at Game Haven. We're Dayton Magic Club, broadcasting from the Game Haven in Riverside, Ohio, where you too can get more for your games.
Yes.
And check us out, DaytonMagicClubwebsite.com for all things magic in southwestern Ohio.
Yep.
And come check us out next round. That'll be what, round 4?
Round
4 or 5. Absolutely. So, yeah. Thanks for tuning in, and check us out for round 4. We'll find another sweet one for you.
More Legacy. So we were just starting to talk. We laid the 2 decks out. Can you see the decks okay, or should I move? We can move because we're on.
Oh no, this is weird.
Okay.
I should have got that like way
before we started the mobile platform here. Yeah, this is good.
We'll fix it in post.
We'll fix it in post. How's that? We're good.
Great.